Okay, today we are going to be graphing our functions. Yesterday we were factoring. Last week we were graphing but from factored form. So today we're going to kind of go backwards, start in standard form, factor, and then graph. So we're doing all the steps of it. On your notes you have 3 graphs on one side, 3 on the other. We should be able to get through at least 4 of them. I don't know about the last 2, but we'll see. It depends on how long it takes us. But so far we've been able to get through most of them. So for the first one, it says graph the following function. F of x equals x cubed plus 9x squared plus 23x plus 15, given that negative 1, 0 is an x-intercept. So what is my first step? What do I do first? Look for a GCF. Thank you. Do I have a GCF on this one? No. So then what's my next step? How do you know that I do division on this problem?
Because it gives you, it has a given.
It has a given and it's synthetic because of what the number is. So yes, I have a given, so I know I'm doing synthetic division, okay? So I have a given, so I do synthetic division. So what number goes into my box? Is it negative 1 or positive 1? It is negative 1. Okay? I don't change the sign unless it's a factor, okay? So if I'm given a root, an intercept, a 0, a solution, I just take whatever that number is. Negative 1 is what goes in the box because I only change signs with the factor. So if I have a root, intercept, 0, that's what stays. And then across the top we have 1, 9, 23, and 15. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to bring it down. I have 1. What do I do now? Multiply. What do I get? Negative 1. Now what do I get? 8, thank you. Which is multiply to negative 8. 15. And negative 15. And 0. Do the rest of you know what we're doing right now? Yes? You just sitting quietly today?
Yeah.
Okay.
They want to hear Diego.
They all want to hear Diego,
yeah,
yes,
so smart.
I guess so. What do I get? What do these numbers tell me? What do I have now? From anyone. Doesn't have to be the 2 in the front. Factor those numbers? How do I factor numbers?
Oh, you bring down the x.
Okay, yes.
You bring down the
and then you factor.
1 will be x power 2.
Okay.
And then it would be plus 8x.
Uh-huh.
And then plus 6.
Thank you. Thank you for your answer. That's right. But if you have gum, get rid of it. Thank you. Okay, next. I do have to factor this. So it multiplies to 15 and adds to 8. 5 and 3. Thank you. I know, I'm glad. X squared plus 5x plus 3x plus 15. So I have x times x plus 5 plus 3 times x plus 5, which is x plus 3 times x plus 5. Okay, so I have a few things to answer. Did I classify my function yet?
No.
No. What kind of function is this?
What is it called?
What degree does it have? Second?
Third degree.
What is that? Third degree. Okay, one of the things that I noticed earlier today is how many terms are there? Count them. How many are there?
Let Diego answer.
There are, no, how many terms right here? 4. Okay, thank you. Sorry. 4 terms. That does not mean it's a 4th degree. That does not mean it's quartic. The number of terms don't tell me the degree. The exponent, or the leading power, that tells me the degree. So this is a 3rd degree. It just happens to have 4 terms. So I have a 3rd degree, and what was the other name for that? Good, cubic. So when it asks me for intercepts, what does that mean I need? It just says intercepts. I need all of them. So x and y. So help me with my first ones. What are my x-intercepts? Negative 3, 0. What else? Negative 5, 0. And what was the last one? Negative 1, 0. Because that is an intercept that's given. So I don't change the sign of it. Yes?
So whenever you have a function, it looks like that, it's always going to be a leading power.
Yes. Yes. And even if it doesn't look like that, you need to put it in order from highest to lowest, and then it's the leading power. Now I need y-intercepts as well, or sorry, y-intercept, there's only one. What is my y-intercept? Negative 15. How'd you get that?
It's a negative and a negative.
Not quite. Let's plug in 0 for all of our x's.
Is it?
Oh, 0.
So what is 0 cubed?
Oh,
0. What is 9 times 0 squared? What is 23 times 0? So what am I left with? Positive 15. You don't use the intercepts. Yes, remember we did that last week, and that's how we made the same mistake. So I have 0, comma, positive 15. Do I have enough information to graph? Yes, I do. So let's label our axes. You okay?
I'm just excited.
You're just excited to learn math? That's what I like to hear. Okay, does 0, 15 fit on my graph? Will that fit on the y-axis if I go by ones?
No.
No, so what do I have to do instead?
Go by 5.
I can go by 3s or I could go by 5s. That's okay too. I'm going to go by 3s, but you can go by 5s. You just need to label it so I know what your scale is. Because 3 goes into 15. No, it doesn't? Okay. So what's my first x-intercept?
Negative 3.
Negative 3, 0. What's my second one?
Negative 5.
Negative 5, 0. And what's my last one? Negative 1, 0. Good. And what is my y-intercept? 0, positive 15. And a cubic, where does that start? Where do I begin my graph? Bottom left. And it ends at the top. So is that a cubic graph? Does it look like a cubic?
No.
It doesn't.
Nope.
What did I do wrong?
You put 15. Don't you gotta put it all the way down to 15?
Nope, because it's positive 15.
I bet you feel smart.
Oh, are you saying do I have to extend my arrow?
No.
What are you asking me? Is this graph okay?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. You ready for number 2? Yes? You approve of my graphing. Thank you. I appreciate it. Number 2 says graph the following function. F of x equals 3x cubed minus 5x squared minus 3x plus 5.
It's a cubic.
It is a cubic. Yes. How do you know that? Because the leading degree. Yeah, that is a cubic. So this is 3rd degree or a cubic. Do I have a given this time? No. So that means I just factor it. So I have 3x cubed minus 5x squared minus 3x plus 5. So what's the GCF of my 2 left terms? X squared. Good. And I'm left with 3x minus 5. What about my 2 right terms? Negative 1. Perfect. So I have x squared minus 1 times 3x minus 5. Is that fully factored? No. What do I have to do now?
X plus 1 x minus.
How do you know to do that?
Just know.
Because you just know? Because why? Yes, because I can take the square root. This is a difference of 2 squares. Or if you're like Diego, you just know. Okay. So how many factors do I have here? 3. And what's my degree? 3. So that means I'm done. Yeah, it is all multiplicity 1. Good. So my first intercept. What's my first x-intercept? 1, 0. Negative 1, 0. It's not multiplicity because they both have different signs. So you have x plus 1, x minus 1. That means their intercepts are different. And what about my third x-intercept?
5 over 3.
Negative 5 over 3?
No, 5 over 3.
Positive 5 over 3. In case you don't know how to get that, remember we set it equal to 0. Add 5. And I get x equals 5/3, comma 0. Then what is my y-intercept? Yes, 0, comma positive 5. And that comes from this last term right here. Okay. Do I have enough information to graph? Yes, I do. Let's write our graph in. And will my y-intercept fit on this graph as is? Yeah, if I scale it by ones, it'll be fine. Okay. What's my first x-intercept? I have negative 1, 0 and positive 1, 0. And then where does 5/3 go?
Between two, right below. In between two, more than two.
It's more than 2?
No, it's more two than two.
Oh, but well, okay. So what is 5/3 between what two numbers?
2, 0, and 1.
0 and 1. Josh?
Yeah. How is y-intercept 0, comma 5?
Okay, good question. Let's come back here. If I plugged in 0, I would get.
Shut up.
Whoops. These all turn into zeros when I plug in 0, so then I'm left with positive 5. Okay, so back to our 5/3. Where is that? What two numbers is it between? Between 1 and 2. It's between 3/3 and 6/3. Which one is it closer to? It's closer to 6/3, which means it's closer to 2, so it's about here. Okay, that is not what you said.
What did I say?
You said like between 0 and 3 or something, or between 1 and 0 and 1 or something like that. I mean, you're right, it is between 0 and 3, but that's not specific enough.
Yeah, it's all recorded, dog. You can listen to it again.
Okay, now where's my y-intercept at? 0, positive 5. And where do I start my graph again? Bottom left. Good. Ready? Is that one okay? How are we feeling so far? Pretty good? So did we learn anything really brand new today? No, we're just kind of putting it all together now. You okay? Okay, ready for number 3? Okay, I'm going to move on. Number 3, it says graph the following function given that x plus 2 is a factor. What does it mean when I have a factor? That's the time I change the sign, okay? So, if I have a given, what do I use? Long division or synthetic. Why did you choose long division for this one? It does have a variable, but I can set it. It doesn't have a coefficient, though, so I can still use synthetic division. Okay? So, I mean, you can use long division, Danielle. No, I don't want to either. So I'm going to use synthetic. What number goes inside our box then? Negative 2. Negative 2.
It's a cubic.
It's a cubic? Okay, Diego thinks it's a cubic. What do we think? Oh, Diego knows it's a cubic. What about the rest of us? It's a cubic? He's going to make me swear and then be wrong again like yesterday. When you didn't believe me about the homework. Okay, we're going to write the numbers across the top. I have 5, 17, 8, and negative 12. Okay, did you do the synthetic yet?
Yeah.
We have 5, negative 10, 7, negative 14, negative 6, 12, and 0. Is that what you got?
Yeah. This is squared, x squared.
5x squared plus 7x minus 6. Have you factored this yet?
No.
No? Okay, let's do it.
30 and 7.
Okay, so it multiplies to negative 30 and adds to 7. Negative 3 times 10, is that what I heard? Do we agree with that one? I like it. This morning, I couldn't think of any factors besides 15 and 2. I was like, yeah, I couldn't think. 10 and 3 is the easy one, and all I could think of was 15 and 2. So I have 5x squared. Yeah, 15 times 2 is 30, but I was like, but that doesn't give me 7, so I don't know what I'm doing anymore. And I was like, oh, 10 and 3.
You should have called Diego.
I should have called Diego?
Diego would have found out.
Okay, so I have 5x squared minus 3x plus 10x minus 6. What is the GCF of the first two terms? X. And I'm left with 5x minus 3. It's not 5x in this case. If your work looks a little bit different than mine, it might be 5x. What's the GCF of the second two terms? What kind of 2? Positive, okay. So I have 5x minus 3. So my answer then, Aaron, thank you, is x plus 2 times 5x minus 3. Is that okay so far? Yes? Yes.
If we flip those terms around, would it be the same?
Yes.
You mean like 5x minus 3 times x plus 2?
5x.
So you mean like flip the factors?
No, like the 10 and the 3.
If you flip those two, like,
10 and 3.
Oh, if you put 10x minus
It's still the
3x?
same thing.
Yeah, you'll still, like right here?
yeah.
Yeah, you still get the same thing. Okay, so then my x-intercepts are going to be what?
Negative 2, 0,
Negative 2, 0. Okay, what else?
3, 5, 5, 3, 8, positive 5, 3.
What's 5? What? 5, 3? That's a height. 5 over 3?
Yeah.
5 over 3?
3 over 5.
Let's check. Let's show our work then.
Diego needs help.
Diego needs to show his work on this question.
And then he reports back.
Okay, so 3/5. Do we agree with that? 3/5. Okay. And then what about my last one? Because this is a cubic.
That.
I like how you point with
Another negative 2, 0. Yes, or Helene said negative 2, 0, multiplicity 2. Because I have one from my original factor, my given, and the other one is the one I just solved for. So you can write it twice or you can write it once, multiplicity 2. And then you need a y-intercept. What is it? Is 0, negative 12, and that comes from that term because all of the other ones turn into zeros. You want to go by 6?
weird.
Okay, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Diego wants to go by 6s. Is that the only thing I have to go by? I could go by 3s. I could go by 4s. I could go by 2s. We'll go by 6. So I have 6 and then 12, negative 6 and then negative 12. The only thing to be careful with if you choose a scale kind of like that is that it might be harder to graph. We'll see, but you should get the same exact thing. Remember, I told you as long as you put the scale, I'm okay. So what is my first x-intercept?
2x.
Negative 2, 0. What's my second one? Yeah. It will bounce right there, yeah. So my first one that I had was negative 2, 0. Emma said I had 3 over 5. What two numbers is that between? 0 and 1. Which one is it closer to?
In the middle.
It's between 0 over 5 and 5 over 5. It's a little bit closer to 1. And then what's my third intercept?
I need you to be my tutor. You said the same shit.
It's at negative 2 again, right? So it bounces. And then where's my y-intercept? 0, negative 12. So down here. And where do I start my graph? In the bottom left. What happens when I hit the highlight?
You bring it back down.
I bounce, so I come back down, go through the y-intercept, and up. Is that a cubic graph? Yes, it is. Okay, we're going to work on number 4 now. It says graph the following function, given that negative 5 is a root. So when we did number 1, I asked what is the very first thing we do, and Danielle said something. What did she say? Do you remember? GCF. Have any of them had a GCF so far? No. Does this one have a GCF? Yes. What is the GCF? X. Good. I love it when you all talk. Okay, so I have x times x cubed plus 3x squared minus 13x minus 15. But Diego says that the degree is 4. Do we still agree with that? Is the degree 4? Let's look at our original degree. Is it 4? Yes, so then it is 4th degree. Even though I have a GCF and I factored it out, there are still up to x to the 4th power. So this is a 4th degree. And what else do we call 4th degree? Quartic. Good. Okay, now that I've factored out the GCF, what is my next step? Do I factor or do I divide? Why do I divide? Yes, because I have a given. So given, use division. What kind of division is synthetic? And negative 5 goes in here. How come I didn't change it to a positive 5? Because it's a root, not a factor. Good. So now my numbers are 1, 3, negative 13, and negative 15. So here's what I get. Ooh, I'm tired. So I have x squared minus 2x minus 3. Can you guys factor that one for me real quick?
Right.
Okay, so we should have x minus 3 times x, plus 1? And so what does that mean for my x-intercepts?
Wait, what about the GCF?
3, so 3, 0, negative 1, 0. What about the GCF?
It's 0, 0.
It's 0, 0. And then what is my 4th intercept? Negative 5, 0, the one that I originally had. And then what's my y-intercept? That is also 0, 0. Now, is that a different point or is it the same point? It's the same point. It's just, it's the same for the x and the y-intercept. Not multiplicity 2 this time. So if I graph these, did you graph it already?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like a W.
It should look like a W, yes.
Yours doesn't.
I messed up.
Okay. So I have 3, 0, negative 1, 0, 0, 0, and negative 5, 0. And then my y-intercept is also at 0, 0 in the same place. And where do I start my quartic graph? Top left. So I'm going to go through, like that. And is that the graph that we got? Okay.